Welcome back to Theories of Nutrition Behavior. In this video, we're going to be talking about what is a theory. So what is theory? A theory is a set of interrelated concepts, definitions, and propositions that present some kind of view or example or situation about how different variables are interrelated and connect to each other. Ultimately, this theory is to try to help explain some sort of phenomenon, experience, or in our case, behavior. So how do we use theory? There are three primary ways that we use theory, and that is for planning, implementation, and evaluation. So in planning, a theory will help us identify how different variables are connected to explain or help us understand why people might be making the choices that they make. So examples here, why do people not follow health advice? So thinking through a theory, it might give us decision points or a glimpse into what people are thinking when they're making these different health behavior choices. It will also help you think about what you might need to know before or during a intervention planning. So it'll help you map out some of the different program components or ideas or decision points that you want to cover in whatever program that might be. It also serves as a way to help during implementation, so it can shape our strategies and how we're actually using our different components of an intervention to make sure they map onto the different theory components. That will help us get a more evidence-based intervention. It will also help us measure it later on, so it can be very helpful during implementation. And then lastly, for evaluation, it will help us identify the exact variables and components we need to measure, and then also how to test those relationships because we have direct connections between variables. So they can be very, very useful in helping understand in how everything from implementation and planning to evaluation of whatever behavior change you're actually looking for. Excuse me. So there are a few different types of theories. There's explanatory theories, change theories, and implementation theories. Explanatory theories can help you describe or identify a problem that exists. It can also help you predict behaviors under a specific condition. This is very different than change theories that often help develop interventions and are the basis for evaluation, is they're trying to help create or change actions, create or change behaviors during an actual intervention. And then last are implementation theories. These are change theories that are linked to a specific problem, audience, and context. So it's very intentional in how these theories are being used to be able to create change within a specific audience, setting, and context. So it kind of goes from a much broader type of theory to a much more specific kind of theory. I've already mentioned a few of these words, but there are going to be some very unique language and verbiage that are used in this book and also across the course. So you do need to know the difference between concepts, constructs, and variables. Concepts are the major components of a theory and the building blocks. Constructs are concepts that have been adapted or developed for use within a particular theory. So in one of the previous lectures, I talked about the theory of planned behavior and those three different constructs. So perceived behavioral control, attitudes, and subjective norms. Those are constructs within the theory. Concepts are much broader, thinking about how attitude impacts behavior. And then lastly is variables. So even when I was talking about the theory of behavior change, I mentioned a few different potential variables within each one of those constructs. So thinking about implementation of a theory-based behavior change model, you might think of multiple variables that you're going to be measuring that could measure things like attitude or subjective norms or belief about a behavior or fear about a behavior. Whatever constructs you're thinking about, you're going to want to have multiple variables to measure within that theory. There are also specific principles within theory that we'll talk about before each theory. So these are general guidelines for action. They can be broad or non-specific. It really depends on the theory. And again, as we move through the course, we'll talk about both the constructs as well as the principles behind each one of the different theories. Principles can also be based on experience, history, and or research. So this is something to keep in mind as we move forward, is that there is different varying principles for each one of the different theories. The basis for a hypothesis is also an important principle of theory-based intervention, is it can help us inform hunches of how or what should be done to obtain a desired outcome. So we'll talk about this as we move forward, but these are some different principles that you might want to think about when designing theory-based interventions. There's also a variety of different models and paradigms in how we think about behavior change, which we actually will cover them. We primarily cover theories, but specifically precede proceed is an important model that I think helps contextualize some of the theory and behavior change models that we use, or behavior change theories that we use. These are usually informed by multiple theories to help address a specific problem. So precede proceed is a very common program planning model that incorporates multiple kinds of different theory components. Social marketing is also another one that we'll cover, and then the social ecological model. This is a little bit different. A model is a little bit different than a paradigm. A paradigm is a schema that organizes a broad base of views, and it provides approaches to practitioners and scientists. So this is sort of could be a theory, it could be an application, it could be a specific instrument on how to measure something, it could be a broader model, but we don't actually go into very many different paradigms and how we think about how that might be used to change behavior. But if this is something that you become interested in, there's definitely a whole field that is focused on paradigms in health behavior change. So thinking about how we take those theories from a very abstract context into actually creating health behavior change, we can generally categorize research into being in within one of these categories. So one is informed by theory. So thinking about the overall theory of health behavior change, or of health belief model, or theory of planned behavior, or social cognitive theory, and then using that knowledge to help shape whatever intervention you might be planning. Another could actually be applying the theory. So taking the model as it is and testing those different relationships through variables that you're interested in within a single population. You might also just be interested in testing the theory. So does this theory work and make sense and explain behavior in your target population? Or you might be taking theory components from multiple theories, combining them and creating a new theory that helps explain a behavior within your population of interest better than anything else does currently. The majority of research currently out there is just informed by theory. It doesn't necessarily apply theory or model build. But that is something that I think we're starting to see shift, is really more of a focus on applying the theory within a different behavior change setting, because that's what's going to give us evidence-based approaches that we need to really move this field forward. So in summary, we have theories that we're going to be talking about, but health behavior change depends on using the most appropriate theory within a specific practice setting and completing reasonable, adequate, quality implementation and evaluation research. So theory should be tested in the controlled settings and as well as in the field. But we do need an increase in rigor and precision in this theory development and testing to make this relationship work. So we need theory to help inform our practice as well as research to inform both the theory and application of practice. And that's what we're going to be doing in the course, is taking those theories and hypothetically applying them to different settings. And then hopefully as you become research scientist, that is something that you'll again also move into. But we'll be reading a lot of research and how it's applied in population settings.